Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. So I guess the question, how hard is heroic content as a solo player, will probably be on the minds of most players right now, especially without the M1A. But update came in the state of the game. The M1A is going to be reverted back to its damage, but the Fox brand contractor's gloves are going to remain where they are. So one of the perspectives that I'm trying to show here is that they're actually viable builds. And a lot of these builds I've actually been running for a while now. Been running them since before the M1A actually was put in place. So what I've done here is I've put a demonstration of kind of the difficulty right now, how it feels. So I went into this video using one of my very trusted builds. It's a very good damage build. And because of the buff to the assault rifles, I decided to go ahead and try my my Eagle Bearer. Sorry, I also kind of thought about trying LMGs for the build, and it felt like it was kind of really good with my LMG. So somewhere along the line, I decided, let me just switch to my assault rifle to see if the buffs actually works. Now, I use the Eagle Bearer, but if you don't have the Eagle Bearer, it's not the end of everything. And what I noticed was I started to just die like a lot. Like I died like I think 3 times when I first started. I was like, man, this is crazy. But then I realized that I was actually playing in a playstyle that's not mine. I am a survivalist specialization guy. Like, it's my favorite specialization. Many people say it's on the bottom tier, but what's going to surprise you is that's the specialization that I used to finish this mission, because it's in my playstyle, it's in my comfort zone. And there's just one small tweak that this specialization gives you, and that's the incendiary grenades. Very important, especially for somebody like me that's playing solo, that needs to get a healing skill and a revive skill. It's nice to have something of a crowd control. Also, the signature weapon I noticed was dealing some really decent damage as well, especially with a slight increase to named enemies. Some people said it doesn't seem like the increase was much. Well, from the video, I guess you can maybe judge if it's doing more damage or not. The patch notes said that they were going to be increasing it, and I was successful with the mission. So altogether, it took me about 43 minutes to start the mission, die a few times, go back to the base of operations, change my specialization, and then finally get into the build. Now, I have a build video for this particular run coming out. And I'd already actually made the build video as a separate video. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably just going to slap that build video on this line of footage so that you can see the stats that I'm running. You can see some of the items that I'm using in order to do this. The Negotiator's Dilemma, in my opinion, is a very good skill build. You just have to make sure you're prioritizing crits and you're prioritizing some kind of damage. Now, I wish that I had a pair of Fenris gloves that were max rolled. I would run them over the contractor's gloves, because the Fenris gloves would give me an extra 10% assault rifle weapon damage. But then I also have a pair of, I also have a Negev that gives me a bunch of good stuff. It does have fast hands. It has a full 15% LMG damage, and it also it's something that I can change out to gain more damage to targets out of cover, or I just change it to something else for one of its minor attributes. So that's one weapon that I have. I have another Negev that has Unhinged, which is also pretty decent. You're getting an extra 18% damage. Your stability and accuracy is going to be reduced, but using a mouse and keyboard, I can mitigate that. But largely what I found out was heroic missions, in my opinion, still take just as long. I mean, it probably took me about 20 to 30 minutes as a solo player. That's usually what it takes me in most cases anyways, and that's without running the M1A. So I don't know what anybody else thinks a heroic mission, or how long a heroic mission should take a player. But if a heroic mission is taking about 30 minutes for one player, I don't know. In my opinion, I think that's in a good spot. You let me know what you think will be a better timestamp if 30 minutes seems too much, and all of that. Now, judging again, I have to also put this caveat that I'm playing on PC, so the game might be also different for other people. But that doesn't really mean anything, because some PC players have shown some real solid competence when it comes to using some of the weapon classes. Like, I watch some streams on console and people hold their Eagle Bearer and they're doing more accurate damage than myself. I'm a terrible shot, and even a mouse doesn't seem to be able to save me. And so some people on console fire way better than I can, even with a weapon like the Eagle Bearer. So I've seen some, some really good things, and I'm trying to insult console players, but there are some really epic, console players out there that can do some really good work. So I'll let the video for the build play out, and then I'll let the rest of the mission play so that you guys can watch. For solo players, if you're actually looking for a build, this is something I'll prioritize farming. And I mentioned this in the build video as well. If you need Negotiator's Dilemma, chest piece, and backpack, they are now in the loot pool. It might take a while to farm them, but I'll encourage you to hit the missions that are dropping gear sets. As of today, Capital Building is dropping gear sets. So you can play that on whatever difficulty you want. Start picking up the pieces, and then eventually once you get a full set, you can run with it. So thank you so much for indulging me with this small experiment. I appreciate you guys this time and audience. Let me hear your thoughts in the video. I've put timestamps as well so that you guys can get to and hop to the places that you want. And that's pretty much it from me today. Peace. Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. So today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys one of my builds. This is going to be based on some new buffs that we've received in the game, and that is the buffs to assault rifles. So I was able to craft reconfigure my level 30 Eagle Bearer to a level 40, and I stopped at the point where I got my 21% health damage. That's about all I did, because I wanted to go ahead and test it so it didn't become something that I left in the stash if I figured that it wasn't something that I liked. But now that I actually do know that it's something that is working tremendously for this build, I'm going to spend the rest of my resources trying to get it to the max level. Hopefully that works. We'll see. Now, this Negotiator's Dilemma build is basically using 4-piece Negotiator's Dilemma. The chest piece and the backpack are important for this build version that I'm doing. Now, you can basically substitute the chest piece if you don't have it, and use any other chest piece that you want to run a one of the brand talents and brand bonuses. That's fine as well, because the chest piece doesn't really do too much. There's just a little bit of an addition that it does have with this build, and I'll show you here in a bit. So I'm using my Coyote's mask. I was able to re-roll this one and gain a little bit more bonus. The only thing I don't have is the maximum critical hit damage, and I think I'm actually fine with that because I have a lot of crit chance for now. When I gain more resources, I'll go back ahead, and if I get my Eagle Bearer to 100%, this is the next exotic that I'm going to try to max out. And so that's why I kind of left it the way that it is. The backpack is the Negotiator's Dilemma backpack, which gives me 15% crit chance for 2 pieces, 20% crit damage for 3 pieces, and then the hostile negotiations. You mark an enemy in a group, or multiple enemies, sorry, and then the other enemies that you hit that are marked starts to take 60% of the damage you've dealt. And then whenever a marked enemy dies, you gain 2% critical hit damage, which can stack up to 20 times or until combat ends. Now, look at the way the language goes. Whenever a marked enemy dies, I don't think you have to kill the enemy by yourself. I think they could just go down based on something, but it doesn't necessarily have to come from you. Now, you can check me on this later. It might not be necessarily the way that it works, but the way the language is written, I think this is what it suggests. But you will notice that your critical hit damage is actually getting scaled while you're in combat. The chest piece is something that actually allows for you to be able to mark 2 more hostiles while you're playing. Now, it doesn't seem like 2 more hostiles is a lot, but if you mark 5 hostiles and you're able to damage 4 other hostiles while you're shooting 1 versus 2 other hostiles, now that takes a whole different turn. Because think about it. One of the best places you can use a build like this is against the Black Tusk, in my opinion. Why? You have the heavy machines, you have the tanks and the heavy drones and all that other stuff. And so what you can do is you can mark regular NPCs and focus on a on a Warhound or on a drone. Those ones have a huge health pool. And so guess what happens to the other enemies as you're focusing on one of them? They all start taking damage. So if 4 different enemies that are maybe hiding in cover are taking damage from you, this is where this build actually shines. Now, 2 other enemies can be taking damage from you, and that's fine, but this is the benefit, like I said, of running the chest piece. So you make that decision yourself. I'm using the Contractor's Gloves because I have some weapon handling. I'm still trying to see if I need this for the Eagle Bearer. Honestly, I don't think I do need it, but I do have another Contractor's Gloves here. I will lose 2% weapon damage. Not a big deal for me, and I'll go here and get critical hit damage max roll when I'm done with my complete testing of all of this stuff. Holster, basically the same thing, Negotiator's Dilemma holster. I made a mistake. I was trying to roll weapon damage here on this holster, and I accidentally went and rolled. Oh my gosh. Weapon handling. So I'm probably just going to take this holster and roll the max weapon damage on there so that I can get more damage for my money. And then the knee pads, I maxed out on weapon damage. And as you can see from the gameplay footage, I was also playing in a randomly match-made group, a very good team. I have to also tell you, because that's definitely something that, will be very nice to have, because when other enemies are taken down, if it's working as, the language suggests, then you're in a place where, you're gaining a lot of critical hit damage while you're in combat. And then having the Coyote's Mask is not only there to kind of help you gain more critical damage, but allow for your entire team to be able to get enemies that are marked while they're taking critical hit damage as well. Now, for the icing on top of the cake, the assault rifles, they all got a buff. They got an increase in their health damage, which is a very huge difference. 21% health damage is the buff that this AR is actually running. And the reason I stopped there while I was rolling was because I already got the maximum health damage, and I was like, let me go see what enemy spawns are like. Now, granted, enemy spawns are based on RNG, but if you notice, when you're playing against a Black Tusk, like I said, this build is very specific, and I feel like will run better with the Black Tusk. You notice that a lot of Black Tusk enemy NPCs have a lot of health pool. If you look at your drones and your warhounds, and even some of your enemies that rush at you, they do have a lot of health, and heavies and tanks. And this is where this weapon or your assault rifle is going to shine. If you don't have the Eagle Bearer, I will not necessarily freak out about it, honestly. When we did all the math for the Eagle Bearer a while ago, we figured that many other assault rifles will hit just as hard. If you get yourself perhaps a P416 with Ranger, that's going to hit well. An ACR is basically also going to be hitting, a good chunk of damage for you. The only thing with the Eagle Bearer is it does have its tenacity buff, which is really good. I'm not going to lie. Sorry, I said tenacity. The Eagle Strike buff. The tenacity buff, where the downside is it's going to take you out if you don't play smart. And so that's where the up and the downside of the Eagle Bearer is. But I would encourage you, if you want to farm for this weapon, I would say go for it. I didn't still till this date I haven't gotten one from the chest. This was dropped for me for a good buddy by a good buddy of mine that we played together. So this is where I think this build is going to shine. So I'm going to be going back to the crafting station, and I'm going to be tweaking those pieces that I actually mentioned here in the build video, because right now I'm more convinced that I'm able to actually run more damage and actually spend some resources working on getting those numbers to be exactly where they are. So if you notice, I'm lacking in weapon damage on my holster to max, so I'm going to take this holster and I'm going to use it to fill my library up so I can get the other one to give me some more. This is what? That's not the holster. Did I call the wrong holster in this video? Okay, yeah, 12% weapon damage. That's actually good for the Negotiator's Dilemma. I think I can take 12 and I can go with the critical hit damage and max that out, since I have maximum critical hit damage instead of what. This is what happened. I was trying to get critical hit damage there, and then I went and rolled weapon handling. So 12 and 12, I think that's a good middle ground to actually stay. 12.9 and 12.0. If I get a better one, then this is definitely going to increase. Now, right now, my Eagle Bearer's damage is doing 98.9. If I go ahead and dome this holster, we're going to see. Oh, sorry, that holster is in the whatchamacallem is in here. Oh yeah, there we go. 12 and 12. Let's go ahead and dome you and see what you're going to do. From 98.9 was the base damage, and we're gonna see this actually go up to 100,000. That's good. When you're getting more damage on a build like this, it's actually pretty good for you. So I would recommend that you actually go ahead and do that for yourself. And as I promised, I said I was going to also try to get my Eagle Bearer to get to the point where, you know, I can max out all my damage. So I mean, I think I have about 8 more exotic components. I think it's worth the try, honestly. If I get anything better than what I already have, what do I have? 10, 21, 9. Headshot damage, that's good. Let's see if I can get more while I'm here on the footage. If I can get more, this would be great. Oh, please give me more. So I got 13, 16, 9. Let's see if I can get more. I do want that 21% held damage, though. That was actually pretty good. Yep, I'll take this. I have 14, 21, 9. I seem to not be able to get anything more, but I'll take my time and relax. That's an extra 4% weapon damage. I'm not going to complain about that just yet. Once I can get about 10 more exotic components, I'll come back here and try again. Like I said, I don't know if you guys watch my reconfiguration video. I don't like to gamble. It's not my style. I hate it because I'm not really lucky. But I think, you know, this is definitely something that is worth running. 102,000 damage right now, and I'm still keeping that 21% health damage because it's really important to me. You know, headshots, yes, they're hit or miss, so I can't really complain too much about this. I think here is a good spot to stay and all of that. So for those of you who have a level 30 Eagle Bear who already also have Negotiator's Dilemma, let me know how you're running this in the comment section. The Negotiator's Dilemma backpack and chest piece have also been added to the loophole for those of you who also, you know, are saying, you know, I don't have these pieces and they are raid exclusives. They no longer are raid exclusives, so you should be able to get your hands on them. Thank you so much for watching the video. I want to hear from you about how you're running Negotiator's Dilemma these days, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Take the stairs to the right of the elevators and work your way up.
Critical.
right there, Kelso?
As long as I'm not breathing infected. That blast did a lot of damage.
Agent in need of backup.
I'm on the roof, holding for backup.
I have eyes on you, Kelso.
You see Saint?
I don't know what he looks like, but there are plenty of hostiles up there.
Not for long.
Glad you made it. Ready when you are. Let's do this. John sent us to bring you home. Are you hurt?
Who are you? What's going on?
She's in shock. I'll bring her down when she's fit to move. Let's meet at the theater later.
Heads up. You've got hostiles flooding into the building from the street.
Get down there and take care of them. I got Eleanor.
Patch her in. Odessa? Kelso has some news for you.
We got Eleanor. Is she okay? She's okay. I'm bringing her home.
Oh, God. Oh, thank God.
See you soon.